Thank you, sir. We convene the committee today to discuss the President's budget for 2010 and the Treasury's prominent role in that budget. For that purpose, we're pleased to have the Secretary of Treasury, Mr. Tim Geithner. Given the number of places you have to be these days, it's a miracle you could attend us, but this is an important part of the process, and we very much appreciate your being here today to testify. As we all know, President Obama inherited an economy in crisis and a budget in deficit, so deep in deficit that spending from the prior administration overtakes revenues by $1.3 trillion during this fiscal year alone. The President has recognized that we have not one but two, really several deficits. The first is an economy clicking on 4 of 6 cylinders, running at 6.8% of potential. And to put that economy back on its feet and to realize some of that potential, the President has signed into law a recovery package that will increase consumer demand, which is desperately short, and create 3 million new jobs while reinvesting in physical and human infrastructure. It's almost impossible to balance the budget when the economy is bucking a headwind like the recession we're now experiencing. It's even more difficult to do that when what we do to make the economy better oftentimes makes the deficit worse, at least in the short run. But here's the stark reality we are confronted with. The deficit that President Bush left behind was 9% of GDP, the highest since World War II. And here's the President Obama's bold response. Over the next 4 years, he proposes a budget that will pare the deficit down from 12.3% of GDP to 3% of GDP. That's an ambitious goal, but a worthy goal, and certainly a track we hope to adopt. The President's budget cuts the deficit by more than 2/3 in 4 years, $533 billion 4 years from now in 2013. But it is not so consumed with or committed to deficit reduction that it overrides other compelling needs. It takes on topics, in fact, that other budgets have ducked, topics that others have thought too hot to handle: climate change, health care for all Americans, and particularly the 46 million who don't enjoy insurance. It slows down the increase in defense spending. It revises the alternative minimum tax, puts it in the code, and it seeks to lay the groundwork for bending the curve and making health care more affordable for all Americans. Now, there are going to be critics who single out instances where additional revenue is raised, as in allowing certain concessions for upper bracket taxpayers to expire. But look carefully and look again, and you'll see that the bigger picture will show that this budget leaves in place the middle income tax cuts that were adopted in 01 and 03, the 10% bracket, the child tax credit, and the marital penalty relief measures. It indexes the AMT to keep it from burdening middle-income taxpayers. It extends the state tax at the 09 levels, and it helps working families by renewing make-work pay. Most importantly, the President's budget extends $2.2 trillion of tax cuts over 10 years to 95% of workers relative to current law. $2.2 trillion in net tax cuts. This is a pro-growth budget. The committee is eager to hear the Treasury's plans to address the crisis in the housing market, which is the source of the recession we're now experiencing. Sinking home values and homeowners who find themselves underwater in mortgages are at the heart of this crisis that we're undergoing. The President's budget is a huge undertaking, but what he has sent us is just the beginning. But it's a bold beginning for the 2010 budget. We'll want to add and see more detail before we can write a resolution, so this is not by any means the end of the process, but it's a beginning. It's a bold beginning. We appreciate your coming here, Mr. Secretary, to testify on behalf of it and to answer questions. It's my understanding that you need to leave in order to get to the health care summit, so you'll need to leave here at 12:30. Let me then turn to Mr. Ryan for his opening statement.